Hi guys, we are meeting after 2 months now. Previously, I have shown similar presentation of microservices usage with AWS ECS container and Pivotal Cloud Foundry PCF. This time, we are using the same use case, but with a GCP Kubernetes engine, GKE. So we want to, that is quite hot in the market. I want to see what we are going to gain by going through this layer. Okay. And even though this is GCP Kubernetes engine, the concept is same for Azure AKS as well as AWS EKS. It's all using the same underlying Kubernetes engine by Google. Okay, so one of the slight alteration is since I have extensively explained in my other two presentations about the Docker and the microservices and so on, I want to keep the discussion little simple and where I deviate for GKE. Okay, so the use case is movie catalog is a composite microservice which is Spring Boot based microservice, which is calling as movie rating microservice and movie info microservice. Okay, so if you see the bottom thing is a catalog. When you call a URI REST API, which is going to get the corresponding movie ratings from the rating service, and also it is going to call the separate movie info service to get more about the movies, and it's calling external dmovie.db API for that. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is based on the Spring Boot in action. Um, One important observation is the movie catalog service is a composite service. And now we are going to see how elegantly we can wire the dependent microservices using the Kubernetes DNS concepts. Okay. In my previous two discussions, we were using the proprietary AWS way or PCF way, but this Kubernetes way, it's going to be a common thing for all the cloud vendors. That's one of the portability we gain through this. So what are the options we have? So once you are running your services in the Kubernetes, it automatically gives you the IP address based on a name of the service underscore host or name of the service underscore URI, which is the DNS way. So there are two ways you could be able to catch hold of the IP addresses of the dependent microservices. So when to use service host and when to use URI, right? Service host, even though it works, the dependent service should be up and running prior to the calling the composite service. So that sometimes, most of the times, it's not practical, right? So even though this option is there, but in most practicality, we'll be using the name of the service underscore URI DNS way while calling the dependent service. Okay. So we are going to see it in the demo soon, so it will be explained better. Uh, and if you are specifying it in the Kubernetes thing, you have to specify this same thing in the YAML file, which you will be seeing as well. And this approach I told you is more portable across Kubernetes engine. Some of the microservice discussions are like in the pom.xml, we'll be referring to the OpenFin, I think, which we were using even before. This is to connect to the dependent microservices. And sleuth is a unique ID to correlate across microservices. But one of the new thing what we are referring here is GCP starter trace, GCP starter logging, boot starter actuator. So these are the things which are specific to the GCP stack, and we want to use the stack driver to see the traces of the microservice as we do the cloud. Yeah, so this is for the seeing the log files. One of the thing is we need to enable the services in GCP console for the project. I'll show you that. Some noted Spring Boot components used are Um, since you are using the Fin client on the movie catalog service application, you have to enable the enable Fin client and need to specify the application in the package one level up compared to the other classes. So I got into a problem while running the microservices, and this was the fix. I figured it out. You have to put your application package should be prior to any of a controller and any dependent classes. Um, and the Fin client is used to refer to the dependent microservices through proxies. So, which is a slight change in the code. I will show you that. And movie catalog resource control is calling the movie info proxy using this way. So the movie catalog application will be calling the controller, and controller will be calling the proxy. Within the proxy, we will be referring to the dependent microservices, and the URL will be like fin client name movie info and dollar movie info URI. By default, if that dollar movie info URI is not defined in the local testing, it won't be defined. Then take this localhost 8082. Otherwise, otherwise take the value specified in the environment variable. And how do you specify where do you specify the environment variable? You will be specifying this environment variable within the YAML file, so that Kubernetes engine knows how to get these values on its runtime, and on our local testing it will be using this local hosting. So it's very powerful, so that the same code will work in both ways, right? And so I just want to go to the application now, and meanwhile first I will try to, there are three applications, right? One is the movie info. I will be running this, and I'll be running all the three basically, so that I can show you guys so movie info, movie rating, and movie catalog. So those are the three services. I'm just trying to run this, and this will be running it. And meanwhile, I'll show you some of the things whatever we discussed in the PowerPoint. I'm just going to show it in the code now. So this is the entry point of the Spring Boot application, and you have to enable the Fin clients on the base package, um, and this will be calling the controller class. And in the previously we were just directly calling the REST service of the dependent things, but now we are going to go through a proxy layer. So that's why we have a proxy defined here. And here when we say get the catalog, for example, we are calling the movie info proxy dot retrieve movie info value. What do you mean by that? So once you go here, so this is one more, there are two proxy, one proxy for each of the service, right? So movie info proxy is basically using the same get mapping /movie/movie ID, right? But the interesting part here is the Fin client. Whatever I discussed in the PowerPoint, how I specified in the code is here on the proxy code. I'll be specifying this the name of the service, and if the environment variable is set, take that. Otherwise, use this, right? So this is why the power of the thing comes, so that you could use the same code for both Kubernetes engine as well as for your local testing. Okay, now the code is running. Let me just trying to show you guys probably local host 81 catalog.foo. So this is a composite service. This composite service is basically telling you the corresponding movie information, right, for the catalog, right? So first is the log stock and so on, and then this information rating 3, this is coming from the rating service. So since this is a composite service, the first part is coming from the movie info, the second part is coming from the rating service, and this is put together both. Similarly for the second record also, the first thing comes from the movie info, the rating comes from the movie rating, and there is a container metadata service. So I will just tell you this also. This is also kind of interesting. Like once you guys run the microservices in containers, containers will come and go, right? And the replica set in the Kubernetes will make sure if the instance fails, it automatically restarts. But the problem is the container ID will be different, right? So somehow you should be able to figure out when you get a response from which container ID you're getting it, correct? And right now, since it's a local testing, you're seeing unknown here. The same testing, when you do it on the Kubernetes engine, you will see the real ID. And the code is kind of mentioned it here. So if you see here, instance information thing, right? And we are using the host name and the environment instance GUID, right? So this is when this is executed within the Kubernetes engine, you are going to get the GUID of the container. That is how it has been associated. Okay, so uh, I want to keep this video short just to give you an idea that this is a composite Spring Boot application, and right now I have not done anything with the GKE or Kubernetes. This is just running on my standalone and how things are working and what I made to make it work. Right. So there are some changes I need to do prior to my other code, slight changes, and that's what is documented in the PowerPoint. And so that the same code will work both standalone as well as in the GKE environment. Okay. So I want to stop this video and go to the next one where we are going to more talk about